here we go, onto the mocap stage for day one.
Directors on set, let's stand by please, everybody.
Thanks, Bruno. Right, well, now then, what are we going to start with?
Scene one, the beginning.
It's a very good place to start. Who's up?
You are.
Well, it makes things very easy.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
All right, let's go. All right, thank you everyone, standing by to shoot.
Very exciting.
And roll camera.
And action. The Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Cash, Nostalgia, and of course Gollum has begun filming down in New Zealand, and we have the very first production video with director and Smeagol himself, Andy Serkis, who, in case you didn't know, has upset a few people on Twitter with comments on AI and the ever-touchy subject of diversity, or in this case, the lack of it. For those uninformed, we are heading back to Middle-earth on December the 17th, 2027 for The Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum, which will dive into Gollum's backstory as the Stour Hobbit Smeagol and will feature parts of the story from the appendices in the back of Return of the King, detailing Aragorn being tasked by Gandalf to locate and capture Gollum in the hope of learning more about Bilbo's ring and to prevent him from falling into Sauron's hands. These events take place during Fellowship of the Ring between Bilbo's 111th birthday party and when Gandalf returns to the Shire with the dire news that the enemy knows the location of the One Ring and the Nine are on the move. Since our last update, Anya Taylor-Joy has joined the cast as Seren, a Sindar elf and agent of King Thranduil. She's a brand new original character, and to be honest, she kind of feels like the Tauriel replacement. But I am hoping this is all just one big misdirect, and she is in fact playing Arwen. She joins Ian McKellen and Elijah Wood, who return as Gandalf and Frodo respectively. Gandalf is likely a sizable role, as he will not only be the one to set Aragorn on his quest, he will personally question Gollum in the Woodland Realm. Frodo is more likely a cameo in a similar vein to his cameo in The Hobbit, to connect the story into Fellowship of the Ring. And Kate Winslet is playing Smeagol's grandmother, Marigold, a well-respected matriarch in the Stour Hobbit community, and she will likely be the one to banish him once his treachery is revealed. She is only mentioned in the books and not by name, only as Smeagol's grandmother, both during Gollum's riddles in the dark with Bilbo and later during Gandalf's interrogation. Jamie Dornan has been cast as Strider. Viggo Mortensen was given the opportunity to reprise his famous role, but for whatever reason it looks like he passed on it. Lee Pace returns as the ever-fabulous King Thranduil, but there's no mention if Orlando Bloom will be back as his son Legolas, but he was very keen to return. And finally, Leo Woodall is playing Halvard, another original character, this time a Dunedain ranger, who likely travels with Strider on the mission. I still believe this cast is only the tip of the iceberg, and there are many opportunities for returns and cameos from famous faces. And Gollum is only the first of a new wave of Lord of the Rings movies from Peter Jackson. Jackson is involved and his name will be all over the marketing, but he will not be in the director's chair. Nor do I think he will be on the set on a daily basis. Andy Serkis, who you all know played Gollum in both The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, has the job. His performance as the deeply misunderstood Smeagol was revolutionary in motion capture, and Serkis actually served as the second unit director on The Hobbit, filming iconic scenes such as the dwarfs at Bag End. And outside of Middle-earth, he has directed several movies, including a Netflix Jungle Book film, Venom 2, and more recently Animal Farm. But there's no question, this movie is by far his largest and most difficult production. Jackson, Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens personally approached him for the job, so they have complete faith in him. And Jackson recently stated nobody knows Gollum better. And many years ago, Jackson mentioned on the director's commentary for Fellowship of the Ring that he wanted to film the scenes involving Gandalf and Aragorn's mission to find Gollum, but unfortunately was unable to fit them into the already lengthy runtime. And for years he toyed with the idea of a film 3.5, which would serve as a bridge between The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. And it's well documented that Jackson didn't enjoy every single minute of filming the Hobbit trilogy. In fact, he's not directed a movie since the Battle of the Five Armies in 2014, and for years it looked like he was done with Tolkien, but over the last few years he has involved himself with the animated movie War of the Rohirrim. I think he had minimal impact, but his name was all over it, and he even had early discussions with Amazon that led to nothing. And we know there is at least one other Middle-earth movie in the works, Shadows of the Past from Stephen Colbert, which will serve as somewhat both a sequel and a way of including the chapters focusing on the Hobbit's time in the Old Forest with Tom Bombadil and the Barrow Downs. I think this film is much further down the line. All focus right now is on Gollum, and I would wager Peter Jackson will continue his role as producer and studio figurehead, but I don't think he will ever direct a Middle-earth movie again. Never say never, but that's my feeling. And Serkis has confirmed he won't be directing the Shadows of the Past movie, and Jackson also confirmed his team are negotiating with the Tolkien estate and getting more rights to books such as Unfinished Tales and the Silmarillion. Honestly guys, we're kind of in the Middle-earth cinematic universe era right now, which can be seen as both a good thing and a bad thing. Anyways, back to Gollum. Serkis made a fun little promo video, filming on day one, where he enters the set in full mocap suit. You guys know Lord of the Rings and even The Hobbit are the gold standard when it comes to behind the scenes extras, so no matter how this film turns out, for many it's still a cash grab, completely unnecessary, but I just hope they include hours of footage from the cast and crew bringing it to life. Obviously they showed very little in the video. You could try and scan the monitors if you want, or unblur the script. But what interests me most is the very end of the clip, where they show them filming outdoors on location, and I believe this particular location has been used several times in the trilogy, and this is very promising, as a major part of what brought Middle-earth to life was the landscape of New Zealand itself. There was a time and place for sound stages, green screen and CGI, but nothing beats the real deal. And they've discussed implementing techniques such as using prosthetics and miniatures, which I know will please many, as people are sick and tired of the overuse of CGI and more modern techniques, such as the volume stage on Star Wars. It just makes it feel so lifeless and artificial. But of course, the proof is in the pudding, and we won't know if the Gollum film will deliver and deserve to stand next to what's came before, until we actually see the film. Right now, it kind of feels like a cash grab and nostalgia bait from Warner Brothers, who are billions of dollars in debt and are currently being sold off and are trying to look to the past instead of trying to create new and original ideas. But with how weak the box office currently is, I get why they want to drop over $200 million on The Lord of the Rings rather than something that carries more risk. But saying all that, there is absolutely no guarantee lightning will strike twice and we will have another timeless adventure. The film has even been released on the very same day as Avengers Secret Wars, so that could have a severe impact on Gollum's box office, but I still have my doubts on that movie not being delayed once again. And now, Andy Serkis has ruffled a few feathers with his confirmation that they are using AI to de-age some characters. And this was mentioned ages ago. Orlando Bloom mentioned this in an interview that if he returns as Legolas, they'll use that to make him look younger. Chances are the use of AI for de-aging concerns characters like Frodo and Gandalf, and whoever else is coming back from the past. And I know the use of AI in filmmaking is a very touchy subject, and to be honest, I don't really have a strong particular stance on it. I guess using it for de-aging purpose is better than using it to write scripts or generate complete footage. And as for the whole lack of diversity, basically Serkis says he doesn't want to cast for the sake of it, nor to tick boxes. He tries to explain how Norse mythology inspired Tolkien, and how it makes sense for places like the Shire to be full of white folk. And I'm not going to lie, I find all this boring. There are much more pressing concerns with the new Middle-earth movies, with them actually being good sitting at the very top. But I guess it's a massive deal for some. Perhaps that's really all they care about, or they knew it would get a headline and generate lots of clicks. And you know they only have a problem with it being a cast full of white people. But personally, I'm more interested in the story, the characters, the props, the sets, the languages, and how it all fits into Tolkien's wider world. Can we not just get back to a time where we used to debate how strong characters were, who would beat who in a fight, or how this one event impacts the entire story? All the what-if scenarios, rather than all of this. But guys, let me know your thoughts on The Hunt for Gollum. Are you optimistic about the film, or for you, is it just one big cash grab that will never live up to what's came before? Will it make The Hobbit look like a masterpiece? Anyways guys, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon!